Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Sorry about that. Good to see you here. Fantastic. Hello, Paul Trani. Going to dive into Photoshop Masterclass, animating graphics. Thank you for joining me, Aria, and Tim, and Austin, and Felipa. Feel free to comment in chat. I see Natalie as well and Matthias over on YouTube as well. So cool. Good to have you here. I'm going to dive into animating using Photoshop. So animating graphics in Photoshop. This is a master class, but I think the fact that you're doing animation, even though it could be basic animation, it's still masterclass worthy for sure. And I'll show you the impetus. I'll actually go over these sort of my agenda, and then kind of talk about why I'm going to do this as well. So hello, Natalie. Good to have you here. Clicking over, you can see. So I'm going to show you how you can make frame-by-frame animation. I'm going to talk about the differences between, say, doing something in Photoshop versus After Effects versus Edge Animate. I'm going to cover the video timeline. That's where I'm going to spend a lot of time as well, because that's probably the most powerful thing. Sam Peterson, hey buddy, how you doing? Sam's up after me as well at I think, well, you can see the schedule right below. It says 12:30 p.m. That should be right. Might be in my time zone though. Exporting that content as well, and then intro to After Effects. And the reason exporting is there is because one of the new features in good old Photoshop, yeah, there's plenty, all right, and we've kind of talked about a lot of these: enhanced content aware fill, all sorts of things, but also you can, you have animated GIF support, so you could just do a save as when you're making an animated GIF. Okay, not only that, you can open up animated GIFs as well. So this might be a place to start. Really just go out there to any site. Be careful. I'm very leery of what I'm taking a look at right here. But this one, for instance, even if we wanted to explore animated GIFs, we can take a look at this one. Sorry, it's a little, Paul, let's do rainbow. A little seizure-inducing there, a little bit, right? And what we can do, let's close all this stuff. You can see that other stuff. We can see it right here. Here's the rainbow GIF, obviously. And then we can open that up in Photoshop. And this is like, if you wanted to modify this, you could see all these layers off to the side. Okay, so that's kind of what we're going to build. And if you open up the timeline panel right here, you could see all of the individual frames. So you start to, yeah, so Gina, thank you for you tried it with so results. Hopefully everybody's kind of opened this up and kind of experimented, but you could see how this one is set up. We can go in and start to see that if there's any delay and just kind of how this is built. But this is one way to kind of get familiar with animated GIFs in good old Photoshop. This is the animated GIF portion. But we're going to start from scratch, because usually what happens, Felipa, is you have a design, and I'll close this one. Here's another one, by the way. If I happen to make a change to this, by the way, oh, this is kind of fun. Let's just do this really fast. Wait for it. Right. I just made a change to this, by the way. It was black and white, and I just added this color tint over the top. We do that save as, and this is what I was talking about, the new features. Save on your computer to desktop, not as PSD. Animated GIF isn't going to be down there, but you'll see GIF right here. So you select GIF, click OK, and then you'll start to play with these options. You want this to be small because chances are you're posting this to social media and it needs to be a little bit smaller. We can force the web primaries, even a custom palette, by the way. I'm going to stick with 256. Web colors. Yes. Okay. And now I just saved out that tenor GIF, right? There it is. There's the copy of it. So I've modified it, and I just did a save as. Yeah, that's what's happening, Felipa. And this isn't, I don't pick names at random. We were planning on having a conversation. I was joking. But usually what happens is you will have, and I apologize about this, I'll even clean this up. I'm going to actually reset this, save as, to my desktop. We'll just call this ice. usually, and I apologize for this, usually what happens is you'll have a design and you're like, oh, it'd be really cool, because like what's going on here is like there's different layers, and I'm like, oh, it'd be really cool if this stuff was like animated in some way. That's usually your thought. Like, how would you do that? And how would you introduce new elements? Or even if I wanted to just do a frame-by-frame animation of this coming together, like boom, 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 like that. How would we do that? It's a matter of open up the tool timeline. Excuse me, the timeline right down here. I've already messed with this. So this is really important, by the way. So check this out. This is going to happen to you, Bojana, if you get into animating. But you can see I've actually animated some of the stuff already. Disregard that. But sometimes what you do is you'll come in here and you'll add a new element, like I'm doing right now. I'm just going to add a circle, and let's just make it... doesn't matter, even though design always matters. Here's my circle that I just added, but since I'm further down in the timeline, that's where it's going to add it. So just be careful when you do that. You will be designing, and that's what happens to me. It's like, okay, I'll start designing, I'll duplicate something else, I'll bring this up, I'll make it a clipping mask, right? Like that, and oh, that's what I want. And like everything starts to kind of break down after a while as you start adding more elements. It means you have to move them all over. All I'm going to do in this case is delete the timeline. This is typically what you get when you start out animating, right? You're going to get this timeline. You're going to create two types of timelines. You ready for this? We will do both of them, and I'm going to burn through this really fast. By the way, this is the stuff that we're going to make, by the way. I have more graphics that I put together just to kind of inspire you. I've been working on this, right? So it's like this idea of these flowers kind of coming up out of the astronaut's suit, right? It's the whole idea of the only life on this planet is in him, right? That's the kind of concept for this. But I love the thought of these like flowers kind of coming up and floating out. It's going to take a lot of work because there's a lot of elements here, but I'm going to show you the fundamentals of doing that, right? We'll play with this one, and then we have some other elements. So you could literally take any file that you want and animate it like I'm going to be doing, even with this one as well. This is another one that I want to work on as well, animating, right? In this case, right, thinking of animation, having this monolith, having it like glow, like that's kind of the idea. It's like maybe it's really dark, and rather than pixels moving, pixels are going to be like get brighter. It's like, oh, this monolith thing, whoa, it's just like coming to life. So that's the idea. You know, we have a couple different ideas to play with. Some include motion, right? And some are going to include other elements as well. So that's the whole idea. Thank you, Madi. Yeah, you are too kind. All right, back to the simple one. Again, I was just doing something simple. That's all I wanted to do, is just do a simple animation. And rather than even making this too complex, we're going to make it just these multiple shapes. And it's going to come together. Okay, so we'll open up the timeline panel right here. We could create a video timeline and a frame-by-frame animation. We'll start with frame-by-frame. All right, frame animation, clicking right there, right? First thing we need to do with this panel, right, is click frame animation, because that's what I want to do. Boom. Here, 0 seconds long, right? Nothing's happening yet, right? Whatever's going to be in this frame is going to be at that point in time. So typically what I'll do is I'll come in here and I'll duplicate, or I'll add right here. Boom. Now we have 1, 2, right? For the second one, what do we want to do? Actually, I'm going to create a couple of these. We'll do about 3 of them. Again, keeping this simple. Starting with the first one. This one's going to be the farthest away. The second, see what's happening? The second one, it actually propagates across all frames. I move to the second frame. I move this into place. So first, second, third is going to be connected right there. Okay. So let's do that for these other ones as well. Okay. First one is, oops, sorry, got to select that layer. First one's going to be moved. Actually, let's do this a little bit more strategic. Boom, boom. Or something. Let's go right there. Boom. Boom. Third. Boom. You get the idea. Boom, boom, boom. We'll control the animation in a second. I'm trying to do this as fast as possible. Again, if you're new to animating in Photoshop, again, it is kind of like a master lesson today, of course. So I want to try to make sure everybody's following along. Boom, there we have it, right? Essentially what's happening here is I have to individually build all these frames, right? So that's what I have to do. It's like boom, boom, boom. And this honestly is where Photoshop power lies, okay? Is this frame by frame animation, okay? If we add a new element, right? Let's just be on the second frame right here, and I'll add something glowing on the inside. Wait for it. Let me pick a cool color. We're gonna have something glowing right here. Like we're gonna have this little glow on the inside, right? Wait for it. Glow, 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 glow. This is how I do glows. Change the brightness, right? So we want it to be even lighter in the center, right? So we'll just, again, I'm increasing the flow in the center, like so. Right, cool, you get the idea. Since I added this element, we can see first frame, second frame, third frame. It's gonna propagate across all of them, right? So if I wanted it to not, maybe I wanted it to disappear, and let's kind of move this to the bottom. It's gonna be inside, right? Boom, boom. When it closes, I want all of this color to disappear. So at this point, come in here, turning that off for that frame. So now you can see it's closing up that glow. Boom, boom, boom. You get the idea. All right, fantastic. All right. Oh, good, Aria. Thank you. She's following along just fine. That's good to hear. Let me kind of take a look and go to my panel options. Make this a little larger for you to see. Click. There we go. So those are the 3 frames. All right, controlling the rate at which they go. I'm going to click play. That's kind of what we're getting. It's almost too fast. Guess what? We can go in here. With this little drop down, we can control how fast it's going to go. So we'll do 0.2 seconds. But for this last one, though, I could do a delay of 1 second. But not only that, what I would typically do... Wait, hold on. For this last one, I can delay it for 1 second. But also what I can do, check this out. I could take this frame, right over here, this button, duplicates the selected frame. So boom, adding that frame. What do? We take this frame, we bring it right over here on this side. So we're actually building the animate in and the animate out. So boom, boom, like that, boom, boom. Notice how I set the speed before duplicating. If you want to set that speed, this is going to make it easier for you. So it's going to pause for a second and it's going to go back out. Okay. Yeah, so what else do we want to do? We want to loop forever, right? But different use cases for what you want to do here. Again, just making something simple. Let's move this off to the side. Click play. We could see it animate in and out. In fact, let's get rid of this. Let's change this back to 0.2. Right? This is your frame-by-frame animation. Oh, that's good. Arturo, thank you for bringing that up. So that same principle can be applied, because what you're doing is you're changing the properties of these layers at certain points in time. All right, so we could have this get brighter. The glow could go from not transparent to completely transparent. So when the box closes, does it disappear? Or when it opens, you know, is it going to kind of get larger or whatever? We'll play with the transparency right now. Okay, so it's going to start to close. You want it to be a little bit darker at this point. Right in here, we select that. We adjust the opacity, right? We adjust the opacity. And if you could see that, by the way, let's kind of zoom in here. If I take that opacity all the way down, it's only going to do it for that frame. So what you're doing is you're controlling the properties on a frame-by-frame basis. Marcia brings up a great point. There's no ease in or out. And that's why you'd use After Effects, right? So that's the whole idea. Ooh, good ones, Noor. Oh, I love it. Love that comment. Schrodinger's cat. Is it really glowing inside? Is it? Is my voice too hot? Maybe it's a little hot. Sorry if I was a little hot there. But that's what you're going to run into. Marsha's already bringing up something. And even I'm going to get into the video timeline right now, okay? Yes, I love it. Aria, the light should seep through the box once it's closed. So at this point, yeah, we can play with this all day long, by the way. And again, I'm just like working with a mouse, so bear with me. But I'm not going to do that good of a job right here. Let's do this. Let's delete that. New layer. Just the good old lasso tool. That's all I'm going to use right in here. We're just going to I'm going to create some cracks right here. Let's do this. Let's do crack. Again, this doesn't have anything to do with animation, but I did want to show like how you control sort of the, pardon the word, but like life and death of these objects and their properties, right? So at this point for this one, there we go. We'll just add a little bit of a glow to it. Outer glow. All right. Like that. There we go. Cool. So that kind of works. So that's kind of what you want. And I could always beef this up all I want, but I don't want it to live in at these other points, turning it off there, right? And then turning it on at this point right here. All right, cool. Done and done. Right? What have we done? What have we done so far? Let's do a save as we know how to do, just to my desktop, and it's going to be a GIF. Saved. 256 colors, web. Okay, there's not going to be any transparency for it. Okay, done. It's on my desktop. We can view it in a browser as well. Wait for it. Here's our browser. GIFs we've downloaded. Sorry about that one. It's probably going to give me a seizure. Go away. There we go. Just viewing it in a browser, just so you know. So you get the idea. We're done with that, right? I love the idea of this. Check this out. You know, I think it would be really cool in here as I start to look at it. What's inside of this box? We're going to get really meta. Brush. I'm going to have some galaxy brushes. Let's take this a lot smaller. Get it down in size. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You ready for this? But there's a whole galaxy inside. Let's crank that up so you can see it a little better. Oh, that's the problem. Hold on one second. Delete. Deselect. Brush. Flow was that. There we go. There's our galaxy, and you get the idea. All right, let's move on because I want to animate my astronauts because that's going to be the fun part and get into After Effects. Okay, but I'm just kind of having fun. There's my, let's undo that. Lock the transparency. There we go. There's the, look what we see in there. We got this like cool galaxy on the inside. Yes, there's a galaxy in there. So that's getting to be pretty cool, right? Okay, so let's switch to something else, right? We're going to expand our horizons. We have this done. Let's go to this astronaut. Why not, right? Something kind of fun, if that works. Fantastic. Oh, by the way, I'm going to do this really fast as well. We were just working on this one. You can go to File, Export, Save for Web. Here's why I would actually still use this method. It's because in here, I could change this. You probably, long-time Photoshop users will know this. But here, I could see the size of it, right? Obviously. And I can play through the animation as well. So I like this giving me just a preview of what my output will be, because you might have asked in the save as, well, what's the deal with those colors? Here you get a clear representation of the colors, and you can manipulate them all you want. We're crunching them down because we want this to be small for the interwebs. All right, cool. Moving on. How's everybody doing? All right, so let's dive into this. You're like, hey, I made this cool design. Maybe it has a cool look to it. Let's do this. Let's add a lookup table just on top of this, just because I feel like it needs some cool colors. That already looks better, by the way. The fact that it was all gray, I wasn't like hugely happy with it, but just added a color lookup table. And that's typically what I'll do. I'll do all my designing, and I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible. Stars need to be a little smaller. Wait for it. Right? I'm making sure I'm kind of setting this up right, because what I want to do is I think it'd be cool if, honestly, here's a moon. We need to make this more interesting, right? So bear with me. Bear with me as I get this set up. We're going to add some shadow, so you know he's on the ground, at least initially, right? There's our shadow, right? Just like that. It's probably a little much, but I think it's easier for you to see on the stream, okay? So there it is. There's the shadow. He's clearly there. Let's take this. We're going to rotate it. We're just going to have some fun here, folks, right? Because I think it would just be more interesting if it's like at an angle or something. So that's kind of where I'm at. That's what I'm thinking. All right. Wait for it. It's right there. Stretching out this. Okay, there we go. Rotating it like so. I think this will be more interesting, because the fact of the matter is, design-wise, I want to make this as more interesting. It's like he was in the center, and it's just like, this is boring. There's not a lot happening. I think it's going to be more interesting if it's at an angle, because, like, which way is up in space, right? We have this moon back here as well, right? Here's this moon. So we're going to play with some of these elements. I'm glad you're excited for the new decade, Aria. Aria, let's hang out, because you just seem very positive and just seem like a nice person to be around. I also have this earth right here as well, so we could do some fun things with that. Maybe we want to shrink it down, and it's a little smaller. This is all a little darker, not to worry. All right, let's move on. Okay. Timeline. Boom, here it is. Instead of frame animation, video timeline, right? Creating that video timeline, that's what we've toggled it to. We click create video timeline. We could see it right here, and we could see all of our elements. These two elements match up, right? We see it very straightforward. Like I said before, just be very mindful of your playhead. That's what this is. Currently, nothing's happening. If I click play, obviously nothing's happening. We want something to happen. Well, in this case, what do we want to do? We want to take this astronaut right here. Here's our buddy. And we want to start to transform it. In fact, I'm going to stretch this out a little bit more, because I think it actually does need to. Let's see. I want it to be really slow. That's pretty good. But nonetheless, this is what I want to do. And this is the fundamentals of animation, even as you go into After Effects. Right here, we want to hit transform. I'm going to turn on this stopwatch. So it's like, I'm a time element. It added this keyframe. It's going to start out. He's going to start out on this planet, right? And then we're going to scrub over here to kind of near the end. And we're going to take this guy and we're going to move him up, right? And we can see that he's moved up, flying away, right? Just like that. Remember the shadow that we just made? Well, we'll twirl that down. What's going to happen in the shadow? Well, the shadow is going to get smaller, right? Or it's going to fade out. We'll click opacity right there. And as he kind of flows away, kind of halfway through, well, what do we want to do? We want to go over to opacity right over here in my layers panel. And here's opacity, not the fill. We'll take the opacity down to 0. Okay. Notice how it adds that keyframe right there. Perfect, right? We'll just go ahead and hit. We can see that he's floating up like so. Okay, you get the idea. Cool, we're gonna have other things happening, right? Let's have some fun. Go, little astronaut guy, go do your thing. You fly away, little guy. Let's have the ground position move as well. So in this case, I got to turn on shadow and position. Or for the shadow, I need to add a position keyframe and a position keyframe for ground. And then I'm going to scrub this way. Now for both of these, I actually need to select both. You ready for this? Selecting both and then moving them away like so. It automatically adds keyframes for both. You get the idea. We kind of have that slowly creeping away as he leaves that. I don't know. Is it a planet or what is it? All right. So let's just have some fun. Here is, we're going to transform this as well. The moon back there. We're going to have the moon kind of move like so. Another thing I'm going to do to this moon, you ready for this? That'll kind of like move up. It should actually move a little bit slower. I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. Right? And up right here. And since it's a smart object, this is what you want to do, Arturo. Since it's a smart object, by the way, that's why I was doing it with the moon. Sorry, I didn't point that out a second ago, but right over here, this is your smart object. So I get to control the size of it without messing with the resolution. So for this transform, what I'm showing in this case, transform just doesn't mean only position. It means rotation, scale. Oh, rotation. Of course, let's do the rotation. Have this move a little bit. Rotate like so, okay? All we're doing is creating some fun movement. By the way, notice how I move this in a little bit? Sometimes I do this. I kind of want to see that I might not have the timing down perfectly. But I'll sometimes just kind of like, worry about the time later. Because I kind of move this in. I was like, oh, how does that look? Right? So you don't have to make everything in a perfect time because you could always move these keyframes. I kind of wanted to see what it looks like first. There it is. Let's actually stretch that out so we can see it a little bit better just by this control. The fun thing about this, thank you, Felipa's like, hey, I thought this was in After Effects. Well, guess what? I'm secretly teaching you After Effects right now, which is super fun. Because when we get in After Effects, it's going to be those same keyframes, which is really awesome, okay? It's just these keyframes. It's cool. Check this out. So this moon is moving. Let's move this over. The moon is moving and rotating. What if I decide to rotate it right here and watch my timeline panel? I'll rotate it right here, hit enter. It'll automatically add that keyframe. Why does it do that? Because I have it turned on right here. So that's the only thing you need to really worry about. You turn on that keyframe timeline. You turn on those properties to change over time. And then the keyframes just get added automatically, just like I did there. Now it's going to be rotating one way and then back the other direction as well. So we'd see it rotate. He's floating. It's a little much. Right, you get the idea. So I can have fun and experiment. I'm thinking this is okay, but I don't like it how it does a rotation and then a counter rotation. So let's just select that keyframe, hit delete. We can delete those keyframes, right? So super cool. Yeah, so we got a lot going on here. I got a fun Earth back there. Oh, so much to do. It would blow your mind, Arturo, if we inserted After Effects inside Photoshop. Yeah. We'd also get everybody who doesn't use After Effects really mad. Everybody who just uses Photoshop to do photo editing would get really mad at us, because that's the problem. Like, some people actually don't like these capabilities in Photoshop. They're like, oh, it's just like bloating it. And I'm like, what's the big deal? So it's a fine balance of like, what do you have in Photoshop versus what do you have in After Effects, and kind of that line. So I really like this Earth too, since everything is moving. I think everything in this entire scene needs to move, and we could have some fun with it. Hopefully you're having fun. Hopefully you're having a good day, right? Notice how as I select layers, I can see them selected over here. I was actually going to rotate the night sky, so let's turn that on. I don't know if I'm crazy about this guy, but we'll go with it, right? Same process. Turn on the position. Scrub a little bit. Yeah, I guess we'll see what happens, right? Actually, let me double check it. Nope. All right. So let's delete this. I'm going to make this a smart object. This is going to be my stars. Convert to smart object, because I might want to scale that up and down. Now when I turn on transform, drag that keyframe right there. By the way, this is another thing. When I turned on this transform animation property, boom, it automatically adds a keyframe wherever your marker is. Just move that over, and now we can have fun with it. So Command T, we could rotate it. Maybe we want to do some rotating. I don't know. It's really just a matter of playing with this. But that's what we're doing. We just want to have a lot of fun action in this case. Yeah, I don't know if it's working. All right, good. Resize the Earth to make it appear as if it's like moving away. Okay, we could do that. I kind of wanted it to. Okay, let's do that. I don't know what you think about the rotation of the sky. I actually don't think it's working, so I'm going to delete it. The stars. But like you said, you want to rotate the Earth. Maybe the Earth is moving further away. First thing I want to do with this Earth is I want to convert it to a smart object, because I want to shrink it down. Transform, boom. And now we can scale it down in this case. That's so scary, though. That is so scary. It's like the guy just wants to go back to Earth and is moving away. Ah, poor guy. Okay, somebody should be asking me a question right now. If they're watching this, they might be asking about the frame rate, right? So what's the deal with the frame rate and the movement of this? We actually get a better idea. What's happening is it's buffering this timeline right now. We see that green line. It says, oh, now we've rendered all those frames. So when you play it again, it'll go faster. Okay. Right in here, let's loop. We're going to loop playback. Click play. Cool. All right. We need to talk more about this. As I'm taking a look at this, like, well, what is the frame rate? What is this set up as? First off, these are like key questions, because you got to determine your output platform. I'm going to output this to Instagram. So the image size, let's take a look at this, 1920 by 1920. I should actually check to see what Instagram for uploading video is. But I made this square for Instagram. The nice thing is I could always resize the canvas any size that I want. Okay, good. So I think you're right. Steve, you are so good with the comments. It's been good having you lately. I agree fully, because he's getting lost in the moon, right? Let's see what we could do about that. In fact, let's try this. Okay, so this is what I did. I like your idea. Ultimately, we needed more contrast. Here I just added an exposure layer. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and adjust the opacity is what I can do for this layer. Yeah, let's take a look at this. Let's crank this up. I take this back. Yeah. So, let's take this opacity down. Let's bring this back. Boop. Okay, there we go. Hold on. Yeah, I just adjusted the contrast. I was going to play with that. It looks fine. We're done with this, right? Again, I'm trying to get this done as fast as possible, right? And that's what we have. We created this video timeline, right? Right in here, we have this flyout menu that has a ton of other settings, right? We can take a look at, of course, the panel options. We could set the timeline frame rate, okay? It's going to default to 30. That's exactly what I want. We can always control that. We could always take a... hold on. There we go. This is what I was looking for. Sometimes you actually might want to, even for an animated GIF, you're going to want some smooth motion. You don't have to do a frame by frame deal. Like, check this out. Let's just go ahead, save this file, right? Saving it. I can export out a video, but I can also convert to a frame by frame animation, right? Convert to frame animation. When I do this, and it's going to give me all those frames that I want for an animated GIF. I just wanted to point that out because I would rather create an animated GIF using the video timeline, because all I want to do is just like, if I want something to fade in, that's when I'd use the video timeline and then convert it to a frame animation if I want an animated GIF. Cool. Pro tip. It's a masterclass, so it does make sense. All right, so right over here, we go into render video right here. We get it. We could also, right up here, go to File, Export, Render Video. It's the same dialog. Selecting OK, we'll output this to that folder and how we have all the settings here as well. So we're done with that. We're going to go ahead and render it. Call it a day. Cool. Fantastic. This is so fun. Animation is so fun because what happens is you're designing in Photoshop and you're like, it'd be so cool if this moved. And in this case, I just want some simple movement, right? Of him just kind of leaving this this planet or platform or Earth or whatever he's on. He's basically getting lost in space. So, Mohit, thanks for hanging out with me. Oh, yes, exactly. Alexander on YouTube, by the way, thanks for joining me. You're exactly right. Using a 3D object, and I was going to get into that as well. If you're using a 3D object, you have 3D properties that you can control as well, which is like super exciting. Yeah, cool. I'm going to get in it because you bring up two good points. One is 3D. Yeah, we can make things move around, and I'm excited about it. Two, using actually video in Photoshop. So we want to do those two things, and then we're going to jump into After Effects. And I want to show you how After Effects is kind of set up, and hopefully you'll realize how easy everything is. Okay, so that render took some time, but that's such is life when it comes to rendering. Right, but we have, of course, our video actually in this folder. Where is it? It's right here. You get the idea. Right, really simple, really easy to make. this is a case where, you know what I wanted to do? I want that Earth to actually be rotating. So I want to add a video of the Earth rotating and replace that current Earth that's just still, just sitting still. Let's replace it. Okay, so that's the whole idea. He's like, whoa, I'm going away. Oh. Okay, and I'm so excited about all this. We don't have enough time. We never do. Because another thing I want to do is I want to move him slightly. I think he should just be moving slightly. And it's these little details that we want. Somebody, I think it was Aria mentioned keyframes, or excuse me, like easing, adding easing properties. And that's what I'd want to do too. I want to make it look really slow. So, okay, first off, video. Here's my Earth, right? This is pretty cool. I want to include that. Yeah, let's do it. Let's drop it into Photoshop, because Photoshop can deal with video, right? Here it is. Let's drop it right in here. Boop. There it is. And make it happen. Make it look cool. You're like, hey, let's make this look cool. All right, so I dropped this in when the timeline was right here. I'm always like really careful. Since it was a video group, we're okay. But since I dropped this in, we can see that that is looping, right? Fantastic, right? What do we want to do next? Take this video group. We see it right over here, right? That content. What I would do is convert it to a smart object. Because what do I need to do? I need to mask it out. It needs to be a smart object and not a video group. And then I can go ahead and just isolate just, oop, what am I doing? Boop, boop, zoop, like that. You know what? You don't even need to, I make lots of sound effects, so you don't even need to make your, add your own sound effects, because you could actually add audio in here, right? Let's invert that. Let's fill it with black. Right, there we go. We have the Earth isolated. Okay. You can see it right over here. Here's my video group. I have all those properties, even though it is, even though it's a video. Look, I have all those properties, including the masks, since I added a mask, available to me. I actually didn't have all of those before. But taking this, what do I want to do? I want to transform it. So, ooh, I actually have an issue. Looks like I didn't mask it that well. Come on. Come on, Paul. Look at that. Look at that horrible mask job. You could do better than that. There we go. Shrink it. Let's make it look... Yeah, actually, I think smaller is going to be better. Shoop. Shrink it down. Get rid of the old Earth. The new one. Transform. Turning on that property. Scrubbing in. Right over here. And see how it's rotating, by the way. You can see the video playing. But also, somebody wanted it to get smaller because somebody's like a masochist or something. They're like, oh, make it look like the Earth is moving farther away. That's a horrible idea. How's this guy ever going to get home? Right, there it is. That video timeline and... What? Ooh, it just... What? I must have like lost my mask somehow. I screwed something up with the mask. I apologize. Bear with me. But let's move on from this. I could show a quick 3D element because again, you could have a sphere and it could be rotated. You could map textures to it as well. I could do that with the moon, you know. Work it, work it, work it. There we go. I have to, okay. Well, anyways, let's just change it to this. There we go. Let's just change this to screen. You get the idea. Okay, there it is. Stars in the background. move this over, right? You can see videos there. Cool. Let's move on from this, right? We can see everything moving. Fantastic. Save it. We want to add 3D elements. I'm going to do this really fast, by the way. Even if I wanted to have this, let's do this really fast. Where is it? Where is it? Here's another one. Here's my moose, by the way. What did I do with this moose? Well, I have a video. I turn this on. This is actually a video of just some birds hanging out, right? And they're going to fly away. So I can do this with anything. So you want to do a double or triple exposure or something. That's what I'm doing right now. In fact, let's add this as a clipping mask to this moose, and then changing it to multiply. And I could play with this all day long, right? But the cool thing is this is actual video that's now playing. So I could take, you know, a double exposure and take a double exposure to the next level. So you get it. Cool, right? Fantastic. That's so much to cover. I got 15 minutes, more like 10. Same thing with this one. I have not gone through this whole process, but you could see all these different flowers. I wanted them to float up, right? I could do this in Photoshop, but I'd actually rather load this up into After Effects. I think it's going to be much stronger that way. So we'll just remember Astronaut Animation Final PSD. So rather than using Photoshop, I can load that up into After Effects. Okay, let me just open up this file really fast. This one's huge. Made this. Hopefully you like it. All right. Oh, I'm so glad. You're so good having you here. Rasim, hopefully everybody's having a good time. You can see how this is put together. It's like a lot of those same elements, just taking, you know, look at all this stuff. This is like a lot going on here. I added a sort of like a noise on the top. This is what it was like before. Like, I don't know why it's so bright, but this is ultimately what I want. There's my astronaut, and let's dive into this really fast because Alexander wanted to do some fun 3D. So we could use that bar. We could remove that bar because what I want to add is a 3D element. So 3D mesh preset. We're going to do a cube. Okay. Adding a cube. No, don't need to switch to the 3D workspace, but I am going to open up the 3D menu. And oh, shoot. That's what... No, actually... All right, so let's do this really fast. Wait for it. Wait for it. There we are. Okay. Oh, that is the big cube. I was like, what happened? Check it out. Here's my cube. Here's actually the scene. I can take this cube and obviously like rotate it. Let's actually work on the environment and the light, especially. Let's take this light. Option click. It's so dark. Oh, you know what? I have all these adjustment layers up here on. That's kind of the issue. All right, so I'm going to take all this stuff, group them together just to make this easier. Yeah, there you go. You can see it. Let's shrink this down. I'm gonna do this as fast as possible. There we go. I don't know why that was so hard to do. Here's the cube right here. All I wanted to show is the timeline. We can create a video timeline. Turning that on, we can see this cube, which is called layer 27, and we have all those properties: 3D lights, 3D materials, and meshes. Okay. So you get the idea. I can control the lighting of this, and provided I have a ton of layers in here, I want to turn on position. Maybe we'll twirl down. We'll do the infinite light. We can see the infinite light right here that we can manipulate because I want it to get brighter. So I'll scrub down the timeline, a couple seconds. Infinite light, I will select it right here, go to the properties panel and to the light, and then increase the intensity of it. Come on, buddy. Come on, be brighter. Something so weird is happening right now, and I don't know what it is. But nonetheless, let's not worry about that. You have access to all those properties, and I can make a cool monolith thing with that cube, which is an awesome idea. Right on, Marsha. Let's dive into this some more, right? So what did I want to do? I have astronaut on ground. I have this one. I have actually this awesome file because I was like, oh, it'd be really cool to animate all of these flowers kind of coming out, which would be really neat, right? That's where life is really coming from. Launching After Effects. Here's After Effects. Let's try this new composition from this file. Okay, so I'm making a new composition based on the size of that file. So here it's going to import all the layers as a composition, and it's going to give me editable layer styles. I don't want to merge anything, right? What I can also do when I bring things in, I could do things as a composition or as footage, and I could actually choose individual layers. So if I just want to bring in one thing, I can do it from that Photoshop file. But in this case, I want to do composition, retain layer sizes, click OK. It's going to bring everything in, and then I get to animate it just like I was doing in Photoshop. Oh, thank you. You're too kind. Oh no, a smart object file is missing. Let's take a look right in here. This happens. You'll just have, since Photoshop can do so much, some of that stuff may or may not be interpreted. It's missing a smart object because I don't know why, to be honest with you. In fact, let's take this. Let's optimize this a little bit more because all I need is this flowers and this astronaut, right? This other stuff, don't really need it. Wait for it, wait for it. So this is an important step, actually. You're gonna have to do a lot of cleanup because it's like, hey, do I need to animate all this stuff? Obviously nothing's like named. I have extra layers in here, right? I'm gonna get rid of those. And this is more along the lines of what I want to do. Let's take all these, merge those layers, cleaning it up. Let's go ahead, save this out. Wait for it. Time is flying by. I only have a couple of minutes left, but I got to get this open because we've hit that roadblock of like, geez, I'm making something more complex. It's going to require Photoshop, right? In fact, if I take this file, I can drag a PSD directly on the After Effects icon. It will open it up and give me those same properties, right? Click OK. I flatten this stuff. That one issue with that smart object layer hopefully isn't an issue anymore. Come on, buddy. Okay, wait for it. Let's make sure this is saved. Oh, final 3. That's what I need. I was grabbing the wrong one. I have one job. Just grab the right file. Okay, cool. Fantastic. Anton, let me know if you have questions. Manar, thank you for joining me. We'll do a new composition. Click OK. This is the fundamentals of animating in good old After Effects, right? And again, I know this is a Photoshop stream, but here we have After Effects. Here we have just a gradient that I'm making. See it right here. There it is. These are the properties that we want to be concerned with. First off, this is just my composition, which is this frame. So this is like my page, right? We could see anything that you make or import will be right down here, right? This is happens to be an ellipse. When I twirl this down, I can see transform, right? Guess what? In Photoshop, you just had, like you can basically animate these bottom 4 things, okay? But not all this other stuff. And you obviously have even more control over it as well. So let's grab some elements. I'm sorry it's not opening up that PSD. I could take this video that I was also using, drop it in here. That's now in the background. I could resize it, and now we can kind of have fun with this spotlight. So just like with Photoshop, I have blend modes that I can work with. So that's what I would do. Change this to like overlay. There's my overlay blend mode, right? And we can animate this. Let's make it a little brighter, in fact. Something like lighten. Let's get rid of the stroke. Done. Here's the shape. We want to animate it. It's going to be the same process. Just go ahead and turn on, say, position or scale or rotation. What happens? It adds all of those keyframes. I'm going to scrub in. I'm going to extend this timeline. When I bring things in, they're only going to be like maybe 1 second. I stretch this out. It's now 6 seconds long. I scale this up. Ready? We scale it up, right? We can rotate it, do everything we need to do to it, right? And I could either use these property or manipulate it on the object or rotate it. So if something for the rotation, I'd maybe type in 1, do 1 rotation, and it'll do a complete rotation based on that center point, right? Right in here, we talked about easing. I got to go click right here, and you want to go ahead and use Keyframe Assistant. You want to easy ease, and that's the power of After Effects, is being able to use all these controls and have this kind of slow down at some point, as you can kind of see that slide in. So I guess keep an eye out on Instagram as I start posting some of this content that I made. I apologize, I ran out of time, and this file wasn't like opening up, but I got a lot of cool stuff coming up, and it's really easy to do. So yeah, so that's funny. Fantastic techno, everyone. Thanks for hanging out with me. All this stuff actually has been in Photoshop a while. Thanks for watching.